Hey. Hi.
Hello, everyone!
I feel like I've learned a lot in the couple of months since I've started uploading videos. I've learned bad versions of graphic design, voice acting, and editing. On the topic of editing, there's a ton of small technical stuff that I've learned, but the big one is do not use Windows Movie Maker. I've learned that consistency is one of, if not the most important thing when it comes to YouTube. And recently, I've learned that the opposite of love is not hate.
One of these things is not like the others.
Both love and hate are strong, passionate emotions that give a person a drive to do something. Instead, indifference appears to be the opposite of love. I learned this last lesson when I was rewriting the script for my review of Punishing Grey Raven for the 5th time. With every rewrite detailing the story I didn't care for and the combat that I felt was just okay, I felt more and more fake. This channel is not just about Arknights. Hell, it's not just about gacha games. It's supposed to be a place where I can share my opinions on things. So how do I write a review on a game that I don't have that many strong opinions about? I could do the professional thing and phone it in. Give it a few empty words of praise, slap on an 8 out of 10, here's my application IGN. But that is not why I started making these videos, so this won't be a review of PGR. I have a lot of criticisms about PGR, but most of them are not faults on the game itself. Instead, they're personal issues that I had with the game that ruined my experience. Because of that, I don't know how helpful this video will be for anyone that's not me, especially considering this video is coming out so late that most people have already probably made up their minds on the game. However, I've already promised this video, and this feels like the most honest way I can deliver on that promise. So without further ado, here are my messy and confusing thoughts on the much anticipated gacha game, Punishing Grey Raven. I'm gonna start out by saying something that's gonna make me look extremely dumb. I have never really liked the hack and slash genre or action RPGs. Now, you may be wondering, why did I, a person that knew they didn't like the genre, actively seek out a game in that genre just so I can complain about it online? And you know what? Fair point. I've never claimed to be a smart man. However, I am a man that enjoys actively seeking out things that I don't enjoy. I do this not strictly because I'm a masochist, but because I've often found enjoyment where I thought that there could be none before, and I genuinely fear writing off a whole entire genre just because I had a few bad experiences in the past. I hated fighting games for years until I recently found that I actually really enjoy Strive. I pretty much ignored rap music for years until I found that J. Cole and Gambino are really good, and I would have completely missed out on some of my favorite games and songs of the decade if I had simply written them off as things I don't like. So I went into PGR hoping that it would be the rap music of the hack and slash genre for me, but as it turns out, it was unfortunately country. Man, that analogy's bad. Anyway, I honestly just feel almost nothing when I play the combat of this game. Again, that's not me saying that it's bad or poorly made. The animations are nice, the skill system is pretty fun to micromanage. Dodging feels responsive and powerful, most of the time, and the enemy variety is even okay. And yet, after all that praise, I would frankly rather watch paint dry than play this game for another hour. And even though I can't say that I found real enjoyment in the combat, I am at least thankful to PGR. Because after doing some introspection, I now think that I understand why I don't like this genre, that being personalization. I highly value customization and self-expression in games. I've loved card games for over a decade because they allow me to build my own deck. I fell in love with Monster Hunter not that long ago because of the really in-depth build variety. After 9 agonizing years of playing bad game, I still log back in just because I find the number of different champions, teams, and builds that you can try intoxicating. I, as a person, love the feeling that a certain strategy, build, or deck is mine. And man, does PGR just have almost none of that. To start off with, characters only have one set of abilities that cannot be altered. You can equip your characters with weapons and armor. However, new weapons are rather rare and usually just give bigger numbers instead of niche gameplay, leaving the only real unit customization up to the equipment system. Equipment does give a variety of different buffs and effects, from the basic increased healing and damage to some really specific stuff. And while that's nice in theory, equipment in PGR almost never actually impacts how it feels to play the unit and/or impacts the strategies that the unit can be involved in. Now, all of that would be fine if team building was interesting. Games like FGO and Alchemy Stars, games that I quite enjoy, also have very limited unit customization. But in these games, building a team is its own little puzzle. While units themselves may be linear, the combination of all of these different characters can lead to interesting situations. So let's take a look at PGR's roster and...
This is unfortunate.
So PGR is in a difficult situation with this one, because from what I can see, team building does seem like it can be interesting, but there's just not enough units to experiment with building teams. To make the roster feel even more limited, you may have noticed by now that some of these characters are the same exact characters in different outfits. Now, I get why they did this. For one, 3D models are expensive to make, especially when you want them doing all this fancy shit. So reusing 3D models is a very cost-effective way to get around this issue. The smaller cast of characters also allows the writers to include most of the units in the main story and even give them all detailed lore. Lore that, you know, isn't locked behind the quotes of other units' locked dialogue. The gacha also feels the impact from this design choice. While it can be confusing as hell to understand at first, it's actually rather forgiving, meaning that this is a game where you can expect to get most, if not all, of the units eventually. Now, I'm not going to say that PGR's gacha should be more punishing, but I did kind of make a full video explaining how one of the only things I actually like about gacha as a game mechanic was the forced personalization caused by getting a random cast of characters, something that has been extremely watered down in PGR. This point really highlights exactly what I was talking about when I said that I have personal issues with the game that are not flaws. I do not think that having a forgiving gacha is a bad thing. I also don't think that it's an issue to have a small cast of characters so that you can have a tightly woven story, but I personally would much prefer the alternative for both of these. As you could probably tell, the topic of personalization was a massive through line that impacted a lot of my experience with the game. My perception of the combat, gacha, and even the characters all suffered because of it. So with that large elephant finally addressed, I really only have a few things left to say on PGR. Number 1. The dorm system is actually awesome. It takes full advantage of the 3D of the game by allowing you to look around your room from a bunch of different angles. Number 2, I know in the intro I said I didn't really care about it, but the story is actually pretty good. As mentioned, it turns out that when you have a narrow focus on a few characters, it makes writing a competent story much easier. Big surprise. Number 3, the music in this game is alright. Now, don't get me wrong, it has some bangers. But it really hard focuses on just EDM, and I would have liked some variety. Last, but certainly not least, Lucia is best girl. This is a fact, and I'm willing to fight all of you alpha lovers Final Destination Fox only no items this Sunday night. And that's about it. Those are all of my opinions on Punishing Grey Raven. To clarify, one last time, this was not really a review, and if you like PGR, then I'm happy for you. But if you don't mind, I'd much rather go back to playing games that appeal to my alpha sigma male sensibilities.
Why, thank you.